The great hall fell silent when the human walked in. Commander Suho Park moved through the crowd of alien representatives with his head held high. He felt their eyes on him. Some looked at him with disgust. Others looked at him with pity. Most looked at him like he was an insect that had crawled into their home. The Galactic Assembly had existed for 12,000 years. 47 species sat in this hall, each one controlling hundreds of worlds. Earth had been discovered only 15 years ago. Humanity was new. Humanity was weak. Humanity was nothing. Suho took his seat in the lowest section of the hall, the observer section. It was where species went before they were absorbed into larger empires. No species had ever risen from the observer section. They either submitted or they died. High Overlord Vorn stood at the central platform. He was tall and covered in grayscales. His eyes were yellow and cold like a snake. The Drethi hegemony ruled over 3,000 worlds. They had crushed 62 species in their long history. Vorn smiled as he looked down at the human commander. "We are here to discuss the human problem," Vorn announced. His voice echoed through the massive chamber. "These creatures have refused our generous offer. We asked only for their outer planets. We offered them protection in return. They said no." Laughter rippled through the assembly. Suho did not react. He sat perfectly still. "Commander Park," Vorn said, "do you wish to speak for your species? Perhaps you have changed your mind?" Suho stood slowly. He was shorter than almost every alien in the room. His simple black uniform looked plain compared to their elaborate robes and armor. He walked to the speaking platform and looked up at the assembled leaders of the galaxy. "Earth rejects your ultimatum," Suho said. His voice was calm and clear. "Our solar system belongs to humanity. We will not give up our worlds. We will not accept your protection. We will defend ourselves." The laughter this time was loud and long. Some aliens slapped their tentacles against their seats. Others made clicking sounds of amusement. One representative laughed so hard that tears ran down his blue face. Vorn raised his hand, and the laughter stopped. He was still smiling. "Commander, I want to show everyone something. Please, do not be embarrassed." A hologram appeared in the center of the hall. It showed Earth's defense systems. 12 orbital stations floated around the planet. Each one was small and old. Missile batteries and kinetic cannons pointed outward. A small fleet of 300 ships waited nearby. They looked like toys compared to a Drethi warship. "This is what humanity calls a defense force," Vorn said. "My personal guard has more firepower than their entire military." More laughter. Suho watched without expression. Then the hologram focused on something else. A single satellite hung in a distant orbit around the sun. It was large and strange. Its shape was unlike anything the aliens had seen before. "And what is this?" Vorn asked. "My scientists are curious. It appears to be a weapon of some kind, but we cannot determine its function." Suho looked at the hologram. He looked at the satellite that had cost Earth everything to build. 3 generations of scientists had worked on it. Entire economies had been drained. Millions of people had dedicated their lives to its construction. "It is a deterrent," Suho said simply. "A deterrent?" Vorn laughed. "Against what?" "My fleet numbers 12,000 warships. Your little satellite cannot stop even one of them." "Perhaps," Suho said, "but I would advise you not to test it." The chamber erupted in the loudest laughter yet. Aliens wiped tears from their eyes. They pointed at the human and shook their heads. How could these primitives be so foolish? How could they think they stood a chance? Ambassador Thal of the Lyran Collective did not laugh. He was old and gray, and he had seen many species die. Something about the human's calm voice troubled him. Suho Park was not afraid. A man facing certain death should be afraid. The vote was called. 44 species voted to allow the Drethi to pacify Earth. 3 voted against. The motion passed. Vorn looked down at Suho with triumph in his yellow eyes. "You have 3 days, human. Surrender your worlds, or we will take them. We will burn your cities. We will enslave your people. You will serve the hegemony for the rest of your short existence. Suho nodded slowly. I understand. And I want you to remember this moment, High Overlord. Remember that we gave you a chance to walk away. Born's smile faded slightly. Is that a threat, Commander? No, Suho said. It is a fact. He turned and walked out of the assembly hall. The laughter followed him all the way to the door. 3 hours later, Suho sat in his small ship as it traveled back to Earth. He opened a secure channel to the United Earth Defense Command. General Taiho Yun's face appeared on the screen. The old soldier looked tired but ready. They voted against us, Suho said. The fleet will arrive in 3 days. Taiho closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, they were hard as stone. Then we have no choice. I am activating Protocol Sunset. In an underground bunker beneath the mountains of Korea, alarms began to sound. Dr. Unibeek looked up from her console. She was 42 years old. Her hair was gray before its time. She had not slept properly in 3 years. The message appeared on her screen. Protocol Sunset authorized. Her hands began to shake. She had built this weapon. She had spent 20 years making it work. She had always hoped it would never be used. God forgive us, she whispered. She began the activation sequence. Deep in space, the satellite systems came online. Power cores that had slept for years began to hum. Targeting computers calculated distances that spanned the galaxy, across the void. The Drethi invasion fleet departed from their staging area. 12,000 warships moved toward Earth. Admiral Crix stood on the bridge of the flagship, eager for glory. He would crush these humans quickly. He would make his Uncle Vorn proud. The galaxy watched and waited. They expected a slaughter. They expected humanity to fall like all the others before them. They were wrong. The sky above Earth turned red with enemy ships. Captain Min Ho Kong stood on the bridge of orbital station at JS-7 and watched the Drethi fleet emerge from hyperspace. His sensors counted the ships as they appeared. 1,000. 10,000. The numbers kept climbing. 12,000 warships now hung in the darkness between Earth and Mars. Each one was larger than anything humanity had ever built. Their weapons could crack continents. Their shields could stop nuclear missiles. Against them, Earth had 300 small ships and 12 defense stations. Minho was 31 years old. He had joined the military because he wanted to protect people. Now he stood at the command of 200 crew members who were all going to die. He could see the fear in their eyes. He felt it in his own heart. Sir, his sensor officer said, they are charging weapons. Minho opened a channel to Earth Defense Command. Commander Suho's face appeared. He had returned from the assembly just hours ago. Commander, they are preparing to attack. Should we engage? Negative, Suho said. All units hold position. Do not fire unless fired upon. Sir, with respect, they will destroy us. Hold position, Captain. Trust the plan. The channel closed. Minho looked at his crew. They were waiting for orders. They were waiting for hope. He had none to give them. Admiral Crix watched the human defenses from his flagship, the Burning Vengeance. He was young for a Drethi commander, only 80 years old. His Uncle Vorn had given him this mission as a gift. Crush the humans and earn glory. It would take perhaps 1 hour, pathetic Crix said. They are not even running. Do they not understand what is about to happen? His tactical officer looked at the readouts. Their weapons are armed, but they are not targeting us. They are just waiting. Crix smiled. Then let us give them a demonstration. Target their moon base. Show them what happens to those who defy the hegemony. Luna Base had been humanity's first permanent settlement beyond Earth. 40,000 people lived there. Scientists, miners, families. Children had been born on the moon. It was a symbol of human hope. The Drethi fleet turned its weapons toward the gray surface. In the command center of Luna Base, Director Jisoo Han tried to evacuate as many people as possible. Ships launched toward Earth. Shelters were opened. But there was not enough time. There was never enough time. All personnel, she announced over the speakers, proceed to emergency shelters. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. She looked out the window at Earth hanging in the black sky. It was so beautiful. She had always loved that view. The first beam hit the dome. Commander Suho watched the destruction from Earth. The screen showed Luna Base breaking apart. Fire and debris shot into space. The communication channels filled with screams, then static, then silence. 40,000 dead in less than 3 minutes. General Taiho stood beside him. The old soldier's face was like stone, but his hands were trembling. Those monsters, Taiho whispered. They wanted us to see this, Suho said. They want us to be afraid. They want us to surrender, and will we? Suho looked at the general. Never. On Aegis 7, Captain Minho watched the moon burn. His crew was crying. Some were praying. One young officer vomited on the deck. Minho felt tears running down his own face. But his voice did not shake when he spoke. Hold position, he said. We hold position until we are ordered otherwise. Captain, someone whispered. They killed everyone. They killed the children. I know, Minho said. And they will pay. But not yet. Not like this. Admiral Crix was pleased. The demonstration had gone perfectly. Now the humans would beg for mercy. They would crawl and plead and offer anything to survive. This was how the galaxy worked. The strong crushed the weak. He opened a broadcast channel to Earth. His face appeared on every screen on the planet. People of Earth, he said, you have witnessed our power. Your moon base is gone. Your people are dead. This is what awaits you if you resist. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. If you do not, we will begin the bombardment of your cities. Billions will die. The choice is yours. He ended the transmission and leaned back in his chair. 1 hour. Then glory. In the bunker beneath Korea, Dr. Yuna completed the final preparations. The weapon was ready. Its power cores were at full charge. Its targeting systems had locked onto the coordinates. Lieutenant Hannah Cho sat at the firing console. She was 28 years old, with black hair and cold eyes. Her family had lived on Mars Colony 7 until the Drethi raided it 10 years ago. She had watched her parents die. She had survived only because she hid in a storage container for 3 days. She had trained for this moment. She had dreamed of it. And now her finger rested on the trigger. Target confirmed, she said. Her voice was flat, empty. Dr. Yuna looked at the young woman. Do you understand what we are about to do? Yes, Hannah said. We are going to kill them. All of them. Billions of beings, civilians, children, innocents who had nothing to do with this war. Hannah turned to face the doctor. Her eyes were hard as diamonds. They killed 40,000 of us 3 hours ago. They laughed while they did it. They will kill billions more if we let them. She turned back to the console. I understand exactly what we are doing. Commander Suho's voice came through the speakers. It was broadcast on every frequency, reaching every ship in the system and beyond. Killed 40,000 of our people. Now witness what happens when you wake a sleeping world. Admiral Crix heard the message and laughed. What can they possibly do? Their little fleet cannot even scratch our shields. His tactical officer frowned at his screen. Sir, I am detecting an energy buildup. It is coming from that satellite near their sun. The deterrent. Crix snorted. Let them fire their little weapon. It will do nothing. In the bunker, General Taiho spoke the words that would change the galaxy forever. Fire, Hannah pressed the trigger. The satellite called God's Hammer released its power. A beam of light shot across space, invisible to the eye, faster than thought. It did not aim at the Drethi fleet, it aimed at their homeworld. The beam traveled through a hole in space itself. It moved faster than light, faster than any signal, faster than any warning could travel. From Earth to the Drethi homeworld of Ashfern was a distance of 8,000 light-years. The beam crossed that distance in less than 1 second. Ashfern was a beautiful world. It had been the heart of the Drethi hegemony for 15,000 years. Great cities covered its surface. Temples and palaces rose into pink skies. 19 billion Drethi lived there. They worked, they loved, they raised their children. They knew nothing of the war happening far away. Empress Vera walked in her garden that evening. She was ancient, over 900 years old. She had ruled from the shadows, while her son Vorn played at being High Overlord. She watched the sunset and thought about the future. The humans would be crushed soon. Another species added to the list. Another victory for the hegemony. She looked up at the sky and saw something strange. A point of light appeared where no star should be. It grew brighter and brighter. The pink sky turned white. Vera had time for one word. Impossible. Then the world ended. The beam struck the planetary core. It carried the energy of a small sun, compressed into a stream thinner than a hair. The core ruptured. The planet cracked open from within. Mountains fell into chasms of fire. Oceans boiled away in seconds. Cities that had stood for thousands of years vanished in light. 19 billion voices cried out, then fell silent. In the Galactic Assembly, the representatives had gathered for an emergency session. They wanted to watch the conquest of Earth. Some had brought food and drinks. It was going to be entertaining. The holographic display showed Ashburn from orbital cameras. One moment, it was a living world. The next moment, it was a ball of fire and broken rock. Ambassador Thel dropped his glass. It shattered on the floor, but no one heard it. Every being in the chamber was frozen in shock. "That is not possible," someone whispered. "That is not possible." High Overlord Vorn had been watching from his flagship near Drethy space. He had wanted to be close to home for the celebrations. He stared at his screen as his world died. His mother was there. His children were there. Everyone he had ever known was there. He tried to speak. No words came out. His legs gave way, and he collapsed to the deck. His officers stood around him, equally stunned. Some began to weep. Others screamed. One pulled out a weapon and shot himself in the head. Vorn just lay there, watching the remains of his planet spin in the void. Watching 19 billion deaths play out on his screen, his mind could not accept what his eyes were seeing. Admiral Crix received the transmission on the burning Vengeance. The footage of Ashburn played on every screen on his ship. Silence fell across all 12,000 warships. Soldiers stopped what they were doing. Officers stared at the walls. The invasion had been forgotten. Oh, Crix whispered. No, 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 no. His tactical officer turned to him with dead eyes. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from Earth." Commander Suho's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired. He looked sad. But his voice was steady. "Admiral Crix," Suho said, "your homeworld is gone. It took us less than 1 second to destroy it. Our weapon can fire again in 6 hours. You have 5 hours and 59 minutes to retreat from our solar system. If a single Drethy ship remains after that time, we will destroy your 3 largest colonies. Then your next 3. We will keep firing until there are no Drethy left in the galaxy." He paused. "Leave now. Never return. This is your only warning." The transmission ended. Crix stood on his bridge surrounded by his officers. They were all looking at him, waiting for orders. "Waiting for him to say something that would make sense of this nightmare, sir," his first officer said. "What do we do?" Crix opened his mouth to give the order to attack, to avenge his world, to destroy these monsters who had killed everything he loved. But then he looked at the footage again. 1 shot, 1 second. 19 billion dead. The humans still had their weapon. They could do it again, "Retreat," Crix said. The word tasted like poison. All ships retreat. The Drethy fleet turned away from Earth. 12,000 warships fled into hyperspace. They did not fire a single shot. On Aegis 7, Captain Minho watched them go. His crew was cheering. They were crying and hugging each other. They had been certain they were going to die, and now their enemies were running. Minho did not cheer. He thought about the 19 billion beings who had just died. Beings who had not invaded anyone. Beings who had simply lived on a planet ruled by monsters. Children who had never hurt anyone. "We won," his sensor officer said. "Captain, we won. Did we?" Minho asked quietly. "Did we really?" In the bunker, Dr. Yuna sat alone in the control room. The screen showed the aftermath of the shot. The broken remains of Ashvern tumbled through space. Emergency signals from survivors on the debris were already fading. There would be no survivors. She had built this weapon. She had made it work. She had always told herself it was for defense. It was to protect Earth. It was necessary. But now she looked at what she had done. 19 billion lives. Gone. Because of her, Lieutenant Hannah walked past the control room. She stopped when she saw the doctor sitting in the dark. Dr. Yuna, are you all right? I killed them, Yuna whispered. I killed them all. Hannah was quiet for a moment. Then she said, they would have killed us. They killed Luna Base. They would have burned our cities and enslaved our children. You saved us. I saved us by becoming a monster. Hannah had no answer for that. She walked away, leaving the doctor alone with her ghosts. Commander Suho stood at the window of the bunker, looking up at the night sky. General Taiho stood beside him. It is done, Taiho said. Earth is safe, for now, Suho said. But the galaxy will never forget what we did today. They will never stop fearing us. Good. Let them fear us. Fear keeps us alive. Suho shook his head slowly. We just killed 19 billion beings to save 8 billion. Is that really a victory? Taiho put his hand on Suho's shoulder. It is survival. Sometimes that is all we can hope for. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. And somewhere far away, the ashes of a dead world drifted through the endless dark. 1 week after the shot, the galaxy was still in chaos. The Drethi hegemony had collapsed. Without their homeworld, their government fell apart. Colonies declared independence. Military commanders fought each other for control. Millions of refugees fled in all directions, looking for safety, and everyone, everywhere, watched Earth with new eyes. Envoy Borishin walked into the Galactic Assembly for the first time as humanity's official ambassador. She was 45 years old, with sharp eyes and a calm smile. She had been a diplomat for 20 years. Nothing had prepared her for this. The chamber that had laughed at Commander Suho was now silent. Representatives who had mocked humanity now could not meet her eyes. Some looked at her with fear. Others with hatred. A few looked at her with something like respect. She took her seat. This time, Earth had been given a full seat at the main table. Nobody had voted against it. Ambassador Thal approached her during the recess. The old Lyron's face was gray with exhaustion. He had not slept since watching Ashvern die. Envoy Shin, he said quietly. May I speak with you privately? They found an empty chamber. Thal closed the door and turned to face her. His hands were shaking. I need to understand, he said. Why did you target civilians? Your weapon could have destroyed the invasion fleet. You could have defeated Krix without killing innocents. Bora was quiet for a moment. She had asked herself the same question many times. If we destroyed the fleet, she said, they would have built another one. They would have come back with more ships. The war would have continued for years. Millions would have died on both sides. And in the end, we might have lost. So you murdered 19 billion beings to save yourselves? We murdered 19 billion beings to end the war in 1 second. Bora's voice was steady, but her eyes were sad. We needed the galaxy to understand something, Ambassador. Humanity will never be enslaved. We will never surrender. If you push us to the edge, we will burn everything, including ourselves. We would rather die than kneel. Thal stared at her. That is madness. But now every species in the galaxy knows the cost of attacking Earth. No one will pay that price again. Our children will be safe. Our grandchildren will be safe. That is why we did it, and how do you live with it? Bora looked away. We don't. Not really. But we survive. That has always been enough for humans. Back on Earth, Commander Suho packed his belongings into a single bag. His office in the Defense Command was empty. He had resigned his commission that morning. General Taiho came to see him before he left. "You do not have to do this," Taiho said. "You saved humanity. You are a hero." "I'm not a hero," Suho said. "I gave the order that killed 19 billion beings. I am many things, but I am not a hero." "Then what will you do?" Suho looked out the window at the city of Seoul. People were walking in the streets, living their lives. They were safe because of what he had done. They would never fully understand the cost. "I will go somewhere quiet," he said. "I will try to find peace. I do not think I will succeed, but I will try." He picked up his bag and walked out. He did not look back. Dr. Unibeek had been moved to a medical facility. The doctors said she was suffering from severe guilt and trauma. She did not eat. She did not sleep. She just stared at the walls and counted 1, 2, 3, 4. She was counting to 19 billion. She knew she would never finish. That was the point. A young nurse came into her room with food. "Doctor, you need to eat something." "I killed them," Una whispered. "All of them. You saved us. You saved 8 billion people. I killed 19 billion. The math does not balance. It will never balance." The nurse did not know what to say. She left the food and walked out quietly. Captain Minho Kong had returned to Earth as a hero. Parades were held. Medals were given. His face was on every news channel. He hated every moment of it. He found a small temple in the mountains outside Seoul and began to pray. He had not been religious before. He was now. "I do not know if you can hear me," he said to the empty room. "But if you can, please forgive us. Please forgive what we had to do. And please watch over the souls of those we killed. They did not deserve what happened to them." He prayed every day. It did not make him feel better, but it gave him something to do with his guilt. Lieutenant Hannah Cho did not pray. She did not feel guilt. She felt nothing at all. She continued her work at the Defense Command. She trained new officers. She maintained the weapon systems. When people asked her how she felt about pulling the trigger, she simply said, "I did my duty." At night, she lay awake and stared at the ceiling. Sometimes she saw the flash of light. Sometimes she heard the silence that came after. But she did not cry. She had forgotten how, in deep space, what remained of High Overlord Vorn drifted on a refugee ship. He had lost everything. His world. His family. His empire. His purpose. He recorded a message and sent it across all channels. I laughed at them. I called them primitives. I thought they were weak and foolish and beneath us. And now my people are ash. My children are ash. My mother is ash. Everything I ever loved is gone because I could not see the truth. He paused. His voice cracked. Humans are not weak. They are not primitive. They are the most dangerous species in the galaxy. And I awoke them. I made them our enemies. This is my fault. All of it. He ended the message. Then he sat alone in the dark, waiting for death to find him. The Galactic Assembly voted unanimously to accept Earth as a full member. Not because they respected humanity. Not because they admired what Earth had done. They voted out of pure, absolute terror. When the results were announced, no one applauded. They simply stared at the human delegation and wondered what other nightmares humanity had hidden in the dark corners of their Rizzu. Solar system and far away. On a small blue world, 8 billion humans looked up at the stars and wondered the same thing. What had they become? 1 year had passed since the shot that changed everything. Earth was no longer a small, unknown world on the edge of the galaxy. It was now one of the most powerful civilizations in existence. Not because of its military. Not because of its technology. Because everyone was afraid of what it might do next. President Ji Ho-no stood at the window of his office in New Geneva. He was 62 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been elected 3 months after the war ended. The people had wanted someone calm and steady. Someone who could guide humanity through this strange new era. Below him, The streets were full of alien merchants and diplomats. Species that had ignored Earth now sent ambassadors with gifts. Trade deals arrived every day. Technology that would have taken centuries to develop was offered freely. Everyone wanted to be friends with humanity. Everyone wanted to stay on their good side. Jiho looked at a report on his desk. Earth's economy had grown by 40%. New medicines were saving millions of lives. Clean energy was spreading across the globe. By every measure, humanity was thriving. And yet the cost weighed on him every day in the mountains of Gangwon province. Suho Park lived in a small cabin. He grew vegetables. He read old books. He watched the seasons change. He rarely spoke to anyone. One day, a young officer found him. She had walked 2 hours through the snow to reach his cabin. Her uniform was from the New Earth Defense Force. Her name tag said Lieutenant Yoonji Moon, Commander Park. She called out. Suho appeared at the door. His hair was longer now, streaked with gray. His face had more lines than before. But his eyes were the same, calm, watchful, sad. "I am not a commander anymore," he said. "Sir, I came to ask you something." "I need to know." Suho sighed and gestured for her to come inside. He made tea and they sat by the fire. The young officer looked at him with something like desperation. "Was it worth it?" she asked. "The lives we saved? The lives we took? Does the math work out? Did we do the right thing?" Suho was quiet for a long time. The fire crackled between them. "Ask me in 100 years," he finally said. "Ask me if humanity is still free. Ask me if our children are safe. Ask me if the galaxy has learned to leave us alone. Then I will have your answer. But what do you believe right now?" Suho looked at the flames. "I believe that we did what we had to do. I believe that good people sometimes have to do terrible things. And I believe that the weight of those things never goes away. It just becomes part of who you are." The officer nodded slowly. She thanked him and walked back out into the snow. Suho watched her go, then returned to his garden. Dr. Unibeek had finally left the medical facility. She was not healed. She would never be healed. But she had found a purpose. In orbit above Earth, a new station was being built. It was not a weapon. It was not a defense platform. It was a memorial, the memorial of names. Yuna had designed it herself. The station would broadcast 19 billion names into space. Every Drethi who had died on Ashfern would be remembered. The signal would travel outward forever, carrying their names into the endless dark. "We cannot undo what we did," Yuna told the construction workers. "But we can remember them. We can make sure the galaxy never forgets what happened. And we can show that humans do not celebrate death. We mourn it, even the deaths of our enemies." So the station was completed 6 months later. The broadcast began. 19 billion names, spoken one at a time, day after day, year after year. It would take centuries to finish. That was the point. Admiral Hannah Cho stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Remembrance. It was the flagship of humanity's first deep space fleet. She had been promoted after the war. Some said she was too young for the job. Others said her cold efficiency was exactly what Earth needed. She did not care what people said. She only cared about keeping Earth safe. Her fleet patrolled the borders of human space. Drethi rebels sometimes attacked. Pirates tried their luck. Small conflicts flared and faded. Through it all, Hannah remained steady. Her ships were fast and deadly. Her crews were well-trained. No threat reached Earth. A young ensign approached her on the bridge one day. He was new, barely 20 years old. He had that look in his eyes that Hannah remembered from her own youth. Fear and curiosity mixed together. "Admiral, may I ask you something?" "Go ahead. Do you think we will ever have to fire God's hammer again?" Hannah looked out at the stars. They were beautiful. They were also full of danger. Species that hated humanity. Empires that envied what Earth had become. Enemies waiting for the right moment to strike. "I hope not," she said quietly. "But if we have to..." Hannah turned to face the young man. Her eyes were cold and hard, but her voice was almost gentle. "If they come for us again, we will do what we must. That is what it means to be human. We do not start wars, but we end them." Every time, no matter the cost. The ensign nodded and returned to his station. Hannah looked back at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Assembly was meeting to discuss the Terra Doctrine, the new law that protected Earth from attack. Any species that threatened humanity would face total destruction. It had passed without a single vote against it. Fear was an ugly foundation for peace. But it was a foundation, and sometimes that was enough. On Earth, children played in parks. Farmers worked their fields. Scientists made discoveries. Artists created beauty. Life continued as it always had. Most people rarely thought about the war anymore. It was history now, a story their parents told. But in the quiet moments, when the world grew still, some of them looked up at the night sky and wondered. They wondered about the weapon hiding near the sun. They wondered about the dead world drifting in distant space. They wondered if humanity was hero or monster. Perhaps both. Perhaps neither. Perhaps it did not matter anymore. The galaxy had laughed at Earth's defenses. One shot had silenced that laughter forever, and in the cold dark between the stars, humanity kept watch, ready to do whatever was necessary to survive. Whatever was necessary, no matter the cost.